Hello and welcome to another episode of God-Sized Stories. I'm very blessed. I have Billy with me again today. Billy, tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Billy. I'm a peer support specialist / social worker. I work on an ACT team, which stands for Assertive Community Treatment. So I go to people's homes and I work with people who come out of nursing homes, and there's a program where they are given a grant for housing, and they help them find an apartment, and then we come in and help them live independently.
Nice. Now, astute listeners might recognize you from a couple different places. You were in a fireside chat episode forever ago, but you also did have your own designated episode 31, back in June of 2020.
I made the original theme song.
And, yes, a little bit of history that maybe has been mentioned on here before. You were the original creator of theme song. As well, we've been working on some background projects, hopefully to get up online soon. That will be wonderful, because along with your awesome work, you are a very talented musician.
Yes.
I've been very blessed to hear your music. And we'll chat more about that in another day. But today, we're going to talk a little bit more about what you were talking about your career-wise. Mm-hmm. And that's this realm of social work. Mm-hmm. For people that might have no idea, can you give them a little bit of clue in what social work means?
Social work is like a really broad umbrella term. I mean, you could be working in a school, you could be working in a hospital. It's basically you're the one who connects people to resources, and you can do therapy, you can be case management, so you help people set up appointments, maybe you help people get connected to community resources or anything like that. It's basically a very broad way of saying you help people in need through either therapy or providing resources or things like that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so since social work is a really broad thing out there might be some people that understand a little more, some people don't as much. Let's narrow down more than into your world. What with your job? You described it a little bit, but what is, like, I'll ask more of your everyday kind of look like. And yeah, every day is going to be a little different, but on average.
So, like, my job, I will go I'll call them in the morning, and mostly people with severe mental illness. My team does the highest level of care. So people my job is basically to make sure they stay stable, and help them do the things they need to do to live on their own, and prevent them from going back into a hospital or nursing home. I'm a peer specialist, which means like it's in general using your shared experience of mental illness to help other people with their mental illness. So I can talk about some of my experiences with depression and anxiety and ADHD, and ways to help relate, to make somebody feel more understood than somebody who doesn't know or has never experienced those things.
What made you want to get into that field?
Social work, it's more like, what else would I have done? Kind of. People say it is a calling, and like once you are called for something like that, it's like you just see people who are suffering or struggling, and you're just a natural helping person. And like for me, selling things or doing something for a company just isn't fulfilling to me as helping somebody. And I'm very, just through my experiences, and I'm just a very understanding, patient, compassionate person. And that's what people need. So I felt like that was my calling.
Nice. So we'll transition then a little bit then on the idea of like, you know, why we're here with the podcast and all that with God-side stories as well. Where does God fit into your work? Like, where do you see him while you do all this helpful work?
I use God every single day. It's my job has made me so much closer with my faith because my job is extremely, on days, challenging and unpredictable. I pray for God to be with me every single day. You never know what you're going to see on the other side of a door, or trying to help somebody through something, or sometimes I have to help somebody find housing who's being evicted. And I mean, every single thing takes a lot of luck, a lot of saying the right thing at the right time, a lot about your demeanor, a lot about leaning on God, saying that God's with me, gives me the strength to do what I got to do and to pray. Every day I have to lean on God, or else I'm just not going to make it. I would struggle without God. So that's how I use it for myself. And also I can help people with their spiritual health connect to a higher power. Some people, we say higher power just because it's the general term. I'm a Christian, but even if you knew that, it doesn't mean, some people have, a specific faith. Some people go to church. Some people just have a general faith in a higher power to get them and recover. It's all about recovering and trusting their higher power to, lead them through and give them hope. So encouraging people to pray. I've prayed with people. I've encouraged people to go to church. I reach out to church. Churches help us all the time.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Love Inc. we rely on a lot. We call them a lot of faith-based ministries giving out food. That aspect of the job isn't something that you see or hear about, or even a lot of social workers may not even use that. But personally, I think spiritual health is a part of holistic health, and helping somebody connect with God better, having a stronger connection with God, leaning on God, has shown to be helpful in their mental state, their attitude, and it really has shown the difference between people who get through a crisis and people who don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's got to be tricky because, as you referenced a little bit, yes, this is a secular job. It's not like you work. There are Christian social work organizations, but the one you specifically work for is a secular one. It's out in the world, so it's there are certain rules of certain lines that you have to abide to, like everybody working in a secular job. How do you toe some of those lines? Because I've worked in public schools in the past, and you have to do that same thing. You got to toe that line between sharing your faith, but also this is a public place, and I can only do so much in certain settings. How do you do that?
I think mostly exploring the other person's faith and how they use it without, they might know, maybe I'm also believe in God, and, and I would say, just allowing them to lead the way and, asking them, how do you use your faith or your religion? Do you use the Bible? How do you use that? And encouraging people to rely on that faith. You could ask them, you should ask, do you believe there's a purpose for your life? That is a fair question for anyone to ask. And that without being specific of, as much as you outside of work, share Christianity, but as long as you stay, in your general lane of helping them, one, lean back on their faith, as one of their strengths, helps them in their recovery, because somebody, I've just noticed, if someone believes there's a higher power and there's a plan for their life, I've been able to use that in kind of general ways, if there's a plan for your life, Do you think there's a purpose behind what you're going through? Do you think there's a purpose behind? Do you think, do you think someone's looking out for you? What do you do? Asking, like, what do you do when you're struggling? Do you pray? Do you, have you prayed? Does that help you? And, like, encouraging people and say, did you go to church? I can ask people, did you go to church? Does it help you to go to church? And when people say yes, I can explore, like, have you asked gone to your church for assistance? Have you gone to that provide some people with, like, a social group and support? People desperately need support.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Yeah,
from church, from praying, from, like, 12-step groups. A lot of people, faith brings people together, and it really it gives everything more of a purpose, because when I find somebody doesn't have that faith in a higher power, it's hard to instill hope. It's because who are they relying on? Themselves. And you're a person with a severe mental illness trying to rely on yourself.
Scary.
That's gotta be terrifying, but believing someone is, like, looking out for you, and you can be teaching gratefulness. Gratefulness is something you can help somebody with their anxieties. Just reminding people, like, what are you grateful for? And when good things do happen, I had somebody who found an apartment, and I remember whenever you're struggling, you have to remember you could be on the streets right now, but somebody, your life, as I could say, like, a lot of things have gone right for you. It seems like somebody's looking out for you. So, like, do you believe that? And they would say yes. And I'd say, something I have said was, this is my favorite line, is, God's going to put you on his fridge and say, look what I did. They love that. They love that, because it's true, because they say, thank you, God. And I say, God's, obviously God's looking out for you. So you have to, and connecting on that level without, debating theology.
Right.
You can definitely encourage somebody's spiritual health if you have, and practicing my own spiritual health is very important.
I was going to say, too, that leads really well into the end of just saying, like, how, like, you referenced a little bit of relying on God, but, like, how has this helped your relationship with God?
Yeah. Every morning I use it's a little plug, but the Abide app to meditate, because it allows me to meditate and clear my head, and then pray to God. That helps me pray. I listen to the Bible in the car more and more, because, not gonna lie, it's draining.
Yeah.
It's incredibly draining, especially if have missed church recently because I've been a little busy, but going back to church was a refuel for, like, my own hope, because if you've seen, burnout rates are ridiculous.
Oh, I'm sure.
In social work. And I think God, your faith, is something that prevents burnout. It shows you that, hey, it's possible, but trust in God that he's gonna, it helps me have hope and faith in myself, because God's with me. If I don't believe in myself, I can't help anybody, because they're not going to trust me. If they don't trust me, nothing's going to get done. So I have to appear, confident in my faith in myself is just purely faith in God. Because sometimes, just some days God has me learn very difficult lessons, because I fell flat on my face, but I needed to. He helps me right back up, and he puts me right back in the situation where I've got to lean on him again and again and again and again. And you're tested and you're tested and you're tested and you're tested. I mean, that's the way you build your faith, is you go do things. And I think if I have God with me, whoever I'm helping has God with them. Even if they believe it or not, God's coming through me, and God is using me every day. And that is my main prayer, is please use me for your purpose. Today, please, let me represent who you are and your love, your graciousness, because a lot of the principles of social work are the same principles that are found in the Bible. And I can if I represent the Bible and love your neighbor as yourself, that's exactly what my job literally is. Mm-hmm. Loving my neighbor, loving people, showing grace, showing understanding to somebody who no one listens to. No one, it's almost impossible to understand somebody who has a severe mental illness unless you've experienced something, and having the patience to help them. It's hard. And without God, I wouldn't even be gotten through school, gotten to where I am, praying that God shapes me into and uses my job, which I think he does, to make me more like Christ.
Amen. Well, Billy, thank you so much for your heart for people. Like that's the main thing I just keep getting at it. Whenever I talk to you about this, I've had the joy of being in a small group with you now for a season, and it's been just joyous to even when you had a hard day and we get together and we're praying for each other and asking how to be for each other. You share some of that hardship, but it's out of joy at the same time. When it's been a rough day, I still hear the joy that you have when you say, I got to help them. It was hard, but I got to help them. And I thank you for that, because that encourages me. It makes me want to help people more. I hope those of you out there that are hearing this want to find out how to help people more, and especially for those of us in churches, as Billy was saying, I can almost guarantee your church or local non-profit Christian organizations are doing something to help people like Billy help these people get involved. It's a beautiful thing to do, and there's so much help that's needed out there. So thank you for giving all that, Billy, and giving us the time to just hear all this and to stew on all of this, especially during this holiday season when a lot more needs seem to show up from people, especially even beyond like the needs that you help with, just the seasonal depression and the loss that people feel during this season. It's real. So I'm glad that people out there can hear some of this stuff and be praying about this and praying for you and the work that you're doing. And obviously, once again, thank you. And audience, as always, thank you so much for listening. I couldn't do this without you. Goodbye.